Cornerstone Market today, and we're going to make bar number 6. Now, bar number 6 is for dry, chapped, irritated skin, okay? And how we make this, bar number 6, doesn't have anything to do with the base oils. And that's where a lot of people get mixed up, is they think they got to put different oils in here because of the kind of soap it is. Like every kind of soap you've got has got a different base recipe. Nope, that's not what happens. No, or not here at the Cornerstone Market. What makes a soap a different soap from one to the other is the additives and the super fats, okay? We're putting the same base oils in this crock pot. Now, I do have a few things that are different. You know, there is a few soaps I make that has a whole completely different base recipe. But predominantly, as a soaper, you find a base recipe that's affordable, that makes a hard bar, that makes a good bubbly bar, makes a good moisturizing bar, good creamy bar. So you find a recipe that makes a good bar of soap, and then you add super fats to it to make it different than its competitor, than its friends, you might say. Its fellow soap bars, that makes it different than its fellow soap bars. So one of the things that makes bar number 6 different is that we add, now our normal super fats is olive oil, shea butter, and coconut oil, okay, vitamin E, and glycerin. But what we've added a 1/2 ounce of cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is extremely moisturizing. So that's one of the things that we've done to make this soap different. And then another thing we do is we add honey. Honey is a natural moisture lock. And so I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of honey to this particular recipe. Now, you might be doing a smaller crock pot, and so I'm adding 6. So, you know, it just depends on how many bars of soap you're making. You might be doing a little bitty crock pot or whatnot, but I do have recipes on KimberlyMacNut.com. And yes, I just sort of know after all these years of how much 6 tablespoons looks like. So I've got 6 tablespoons in there, but most of you are doing about 11 bars. My recipes are calculated to work with the Essential Depot mold, and also my dad makes a wooden mold, and so my soap recipes are calculated to work with these 2 molds. And that one there does 11 bars. So for these 2 though, I've doubled it. So this is a double recipe, but your average recipe would be, let me get it here, would be in a 4-quart crock pot that would look something similar to this right here. Okay, of course it has a lid, but this is the kind that you normally use for home cooking. Okay, let me put that back up. And this is a 7-quart crock pot. So if you're going to do a batch, according to me and mine, you would use the small crock pot, which is a 4-quart. If you want to do a double batch, you want to times it times 2, you would want to use a 7-quart. Both of these can be found at Walmart. So my soap is finished cooking, okay? And you can find the recipe on www.KimberlyMacNut.com. www.Kimberly, Kimberly, Macnut, MCNUTT.com. Alright, so I've got my super fats in there. And then the next thing I'm going to do to make this bar number 6 is I'm going to put a cup of oats. So that would be a 1/2 cup if you're using the 4-quart crock pot. So let me get that one. Let me get one more. It's winter, so bar number 6 is going to be a hot ticket. So there's a cup of oats for each one. And now why am I changing spoon? Because this is the spoon I've been stirring with the whole time, and it's got soap stuck to it, white crunchies that would fall into the soap, and if you were coloring your soap, it would show up in your bar as little white flakes. So, but this soap is not colored, but I'm going to go ahead and change my spoon. Whenever I add my super fats, that's when I always change my spoon. And hang on, I'll bring you in close. Alright, so I'm now stirring my oats and honey and super fats in. You'll see the big chunk of shea butter that's not melted. There's a chunk of cocoa butter in there that's not melted. And but I'm basically just gonna not super stir. I'm just gonna stir it up enough to let the super fats continue melting. And then I'm going to take a spatula and clean the sides. I have cleaned them before, and anything that was really dried and crunchy I threw in the garbage can so that it wouldn't fall down in the soap later and be white specks in my soap. And so I'm going to clean the sides down. The reason I'm cleaning these sides down is to get stuff off of here that could turn crunchy and get into the soap later and look weird. So here is what it looked like before I stirred. And now I'm going to throw the same oats up in the same spot on the crock pot there. But I'm doing it one-handed because I'm holding the camera, so it may wobble around a bit. But basically I'm just doing a pre-stir, especially since I got the oats in there. And I'm just digging around in the edges and getting it lightly blended. Alright. And I will clean my spoon also with this spatula before I'm done. But since I'm at the super fat level, sometimes what I'll do is to prevent the dry crunchies, I just stick the spoon down in there. So now I'm going to put my lid like this so that these two soaps can start to cool. So I'll stick that one down in there too. And we're going to let these cool to 160 and continue stirring them till all the super fats have melted and is well blended. And then we're going to add essential oils that also makes bar number 6 special. It makes it a different soap than its partner in crime out there in the Cornerstone Market shelves. So you can use the same base recipe for 90% of your soaps, and then use different additives, different super fats, different essential oils, makes your bar of soap whatever makes it special. And so for this one, we're making it good for dry, chapped, cracked, irritated skin. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes since I added my additives and super fats. I'm doing 2 videos at the same time. This is our lotion bar, and this is bar number 6. So I thought I would just do a broad one clip for both videos. So basically, now you're going to see lots of melted super fats that have not blended. And so now your task is to stir, stir, stir until you get those super fats well blended into the soap. Okay, so that's what you're to do next. We've already put the super fats in and anything that was going to go in the super fats, and I've got to come back and stir that one some more. You can see the honey makes this soap very golden. I let my soap cool off for about 20 minutes before I added my super fats to bar number 6, because if you put honey in a soap that's super hot, sometimes it turns too dark. And so, because the honey cooks basically in the heat. So I'm just giving them all a light stir right now. Blending the oats and the super fats in on these two, because this is bar number 6. No oats on this one. So that's what our stage is now. We've waited about 15-20 minutes, and now I'm just going to go back and I'm going to continue stirring until all the super fats are well blended. Then I'm going to put my spoon back in and stick my lid where it can vent on both sides, and I'm going to use my candy thermometer here to check the temperature. And when bar number 6 gets to 160, I'm going to add my essential oils. Okay, everybody. So this is my bar number 6, and it's for dry, chapped, and irritated skin. I ended up with some chunks. Now, why I ended up with these, I decided, is I got overwhelmed with customers, and I didn't get to stir it a lot during the cooking phase, and sometimes down here around the bottom, soap will dehydrate and stick to the bottom and make these little chunks. Okay, so stir your soap good and clean your edges. So I have used a candy thermometer, and I swirled it around really good to get a good accurate reading, and then I left it in the middle, not touching the bottom of the crock pot, to get my reading. And these are both just slightly under 160, and that's what we want, 160, not 161, not 162, but 160, 159, because essential oils will flash. They'll flash off, and then your product will not be as good for the skin and not smell good because they flashed off. So now we're going to stir the essential oils in. There's another little one. Ay. As they pop up, I'll get rid of them. The big ones, I don't mind them really. It makes my soap look rustic and natural, and that's what counts. I mean, everybody likes pretty soap, but I'm trying to make soap that'll help people's skin, and that's my biggest concern. And my soaps are all made all natural, so it is common for them not to be perfect. And I try not to focus on perfection, but focus on the benefit that people are getting out of the soaps for their skin. Not just taking a bath, but helping your dry skin. Okay, I'm going to come over here and unplug these little boogers. There we go. We'll move this one over and screen so you can watch that again. I'm doing basically a rotation of the spoon. This is a pretty good heavy amount of essential oils going in. This is lavender, ginger grass, and lemongrass. Lemongrass, a natural skin toner. Ginger grass is one of the most moisturizing essential oils for the skin. And lavender, one of the most healing essential oils for the skin. When you're doing lemongrass and lavender, I like to do one part lemongrass to 4 parts lavender as a standard. And when I can, I use 3 parts of those 4 parts. I use 1 part French lavender because it smells so darn good, even though it's not as good for the skin. It's not the most healing essential oil for the skin. It's more for soothing the mind and helping you rest and sleep. So I put 1 part French lavender to 3 parts regular lavender to 1 part lemongrass. Then put that in your crock pot. So like if you were doing a 4-quart crock pot with a single batch, which would be 11 to 12 bars of soap that are going to be somewhere around 5 ounces when finished, which would be somewhere around 34 to 40 ounces of soap and in the crock pot. Then I would use literally 1 tablespoon lemongrass to 3 tablespoons lavender to 1 tablespoon French lavender, and then put it in there and smell it. And if the lemongrass is too strong, add a little bit more lavender. If the lavender and the lemongrass are great, fine. But if you really like the smell of the lemongrass more than the lavender and you just want to floral up lemongrass a little bit, then add more lemongrass. Do 2 tablespoons of lemongrass for a half a batch. But lemongrass is very powerful in scent. It's very overwhelming, so it will take over the scent of your soap. So, you know, it has great benefits to it, but you don't want to make your soap so strong in lemongrass people won't bath in it, which probably wouldn't make a difference. People love lemongrass so much and the smell of citrus. Even though lemongrass is not a citrus, it does not irritate the skin like citrus, and it doesn't have the warnings that citrus does. If you're going to put lemon and lime and tangerine and bergamot and all this kind of stuff in soap, and it's not going to just be a small factor of the recipe, your essential oil recipe, then it's for oily skin. It's not for dry skin. It's not for normal skin. It's got too much citrus in it. You might implement by using a citrus smelling fragrance oil and then adding a little citrus to it to make it have more of a real smell, and then add your lemongrass. Which of course lemons it up, and then add maybe lavender or geranium or rosemary, whatever you're adding. But just be careful about adding too much citrus to your soaps. It's just going to cause the soap to possibly irritate people's skin, and number 2, you have the problems with the sunburning. Citrus makes people's skin susceptible to sunburning, and of course it's a stripping agent. You know, your mama took her fingernails and bleached them out in a lemon, and so that means it'll bleach out a fingernail. It'll strip all the oil off your body. So be careful with citrus. All right, so you can see what a beautiful golden color this is because of the honey. And basically I'm just gonna fill my molds with bar number 6, and 2 molds per crock pot because I'm using a 7-quart crock pot and doing a double batch. When you go to www.kimberlymagnet.com, you will find that there's free soaping recipes on one of the pages, and those free soaping recipes will be in single batch or double batch. Most of them, I think, it has the double batch measurements and the single batch measurements. Some of them may only offer the single batch. Okay, and so now we're going to basically beat this down, and I'm going to clean off my spoon because I think I might just have a little bit more in that one than I did this one. And then let's make sure you can see I'm just going to do a swirl. This is just a standard good little thing you can do. Make your soaps look nice. Is just take a little swirl with a TEA spoon. Take your finger and plop it off at the end. And then you can shake it, and because sometimes it'll cause more soap to go in the end. And see, this has a nice little lump on it, but if you want, you can tap it lightly and it will become more flat. And you see how fluid this recipe is. One of the reasons this recipe is so fluid is because of the base oils I use. They make very fluid soap. And I'll show you that one more time. Tap it down. Be careful about your knobs on your crock pots when you're doing this. I've lost a few knobs over this one, let me tell you. So, let's give it a little swirl. It's a rotation of the spoon, not just the swirl, and then the little, what you might say, toe pick. I remember that movie, Toe Pick, for those two skaters that were trying to learn to skate together with each other. And she would say, toe pick, and he'd go flying and she would laugh at him. So it's sort of like putting your toe pick down when you're skating. There we go. And now I'm just gonna, there we go. So now we have our bar number 6. And this soap is for, as I said, dry, cracked, chapped skin. I gave you a great recipe with lemongrass and lavender, but I also add ginger grass. So you might want to buy some ginger grass and add that as well. For your ginger grass, it is twice the amount of lavender or less. Maybe just a little bit less than half, I mean double. Because the ginger grass does not have a strong smell. It's very benign and it's very moisturizing. So that gives you the option to put a lot of it in there to really make the skin feel awesome. Okay, so this is bar number 6. And I so hope you've enjoyed soaping with me today.